And one of the things that CDMI brings to the table is the idea of portability between cloud service providers, which I think is a great thing for customers. The ability to say, I'm storing my data on the cloud. Now, if I want to switch storage providers, I can go to another storage provider. What other types of things do you see CDMI doing? Have you looked at that, Aaron? You're probably a developer. You've probably peeked in there a little bit.
Yeah, I liked paragraph 5.3. I liked paragraph 5.9.
I thought you'd like that one. This is my favorite.
5.3 was about allowing customers to still work with CDMI in the familiar, through something very familiar to them, meaning through CIFS and NFS. So that's good. It doesn't basically, force them to do away with stuff. 5.9 says, these are very specific kind of functionalities that you can work with the APIs, and so it brings clarity. I think it brings, it kind of sets a standard, for lack of a better word, for the development community, but also for the customers. Again, I go back to, I think a lot of customers are looking for clarity, and it really has a lot to do with the economic model. I think that customers understand the technologies because these are not things that are foreign to them. They understand virtualization, they understand, the underlying bits and bytes and the speeds and feeds. I think really where a lot of customers need help is understanding the economic advantages of doing cloud computing, and just getting their, and it comes from doing capex, opex changes and so on. So CDMI really helps not only technically to create a kind of a first step forwards towards clarity, but it also helps them understand after they've made that step the economic clarity around using cloud computing.
So I guess the more direct question is: Are all of you going to be part of the CDMI standard or adopt that standard?
So, a quick follow-up. I think right now all of our technologies support, CIFS and NFS. So on the one hand, CDMI makes it easy for existing technologies to support CDMI, but the more important step is really adopting the API framework that CDMI sets out. It's not good enough just to be CIFS and NFS compliant, and that's, I think, only half the action. So speaking for Asigra, we will be doing it. We hope that others will eventually follow. It does allow for data portability, data mobility, and that's a clear benefit to customers, something that's been available in the Asigra technology for many years already, but it's good that CDMI is stepping, that SNIA is stepping forward with CDMI and allowing people to move, kind of like they move their cell phone. If you don't like Verizon, you can move to AT&T. You don't like any of them, you can move to Sprint. That's what's needed in cloud storage and management, including the backup data that's being managed in the cloud.
Yes, we spoke yesterday with Mark Carlson about CDMI, and one of the things he talked about was the ability to have billing information included. Can you elaborate on that at all, Greg, or what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, when we looked at CDMI spec, it's very complete. That's what we liked about it, right? I mean, and as Aaron said, it also lets you evolve. So you can incorporate the existing stuff like CIFS and NFS, but you can evolve to a more advanced, like HTTP with RESTful. But then in addition to just getting the access protocols, you also have a framework of the metadata that allows you to incorporate billing and security and archiving and retention, all the things we know in the classical storage sense we're going to need when we go out to build out a true enterprise cloud. We're going to need all those capabilities. So it's nice that they're all in there from day one. They're all optional, though, so you don't have to do them. And then as the industry evolves and as more and more people put stuff in the cloud, we can then incorporate the more advanced features into the spec, or they are in the spec, and they can then implement them and create something that both enterprises and smaller organizations can use.
So I'm going to ask both you guys, Brad and Daniel, you're both service providers, right? So, he mentioned four very important and interesting words there. Security, archiving, retention, and billing, right? How do you see that? Wasn't that good? Weren't you guys impressed? I can remember that. Yeah. The brain does work sometimes. How are your customers asking for those things to change, or are your customers asking for you to change those things in your offerings?
Yeah, most certainly. It's all about risk mitigation, isn't it? And standards are always a good thing. Customers have been enjoying that in their private infrastructures for a long time, and they certainly expect it as an outsourced service. So, customers are certainly asking us questions about billing. How are we actually going to deal with it? How does it compare to how other companies that they've been getting quotes from or have been investigating? How do we compare? And they're seeking standards. They're seeking consistency across the board that all the service providers would adhere to.
That they may or may not be able to get.
Well, we would look at it a little bit differently. We we look at storage as a tool that we use to provide other creative value-add services too. So from our perspective, the standard offers us the ability to have some portability on our back end. So whether or not we use an in-house solution like we do today and continue to do for certain products, there are other products and services that might make more sense to push to a public cloud and be able to move around, or to provide in a federated cloud environment where, similar to your CDN environment of today, you could have a reverse CDN where people are loading files locally to wherever they happen to be geographically, have those files replicate across a federated storage cloud to, from Orlando to San Jose, and be able to pick those files up over there rapidly because they've been replicated on a public environment. Something like CDMI allows that interchange and interaction of providers to enable a service like that.
Yeah, so that's actually a great thing to start off the next question, the next topic. How do you see the technology in the industry changing? What types of capabilities do you expect to see that are different? You just talked about that.
Well, Aaron touched on it a little bit earlier, and I would say that it's important that we think about how the consumers look at purchasing services, because getting out of a service is as important to a consumer nowadays as what they did to get into that service, right? So understanding what their exit or what their migration to another cloud provider is going to be very important. And so being able to offer them ways out or ways to migrate is a significant factor.
So lock-in. They're looking for ways to avoid lock-in, right? This is new. It's different for them, not only on an economic basis, but sometimes it's different for them. It feels a bit scary, just like the day they had to take some applications that they used to run in their data centers and put them out on local area networks 25, 30 years ago. So this is, again, a little bit of nervousness time. So they want to make sure that if, God forbid, they make a mistake, and if I don't like this bank and I don't like that bank and I want to put all the money and bring it back and put it under my mattress, I'll have the ability to do that. So they don't want to get stuck and cornered in. And so, CDMI then helps with that, because they understand right up front what they're getting themselves into and what they can back away from if they don't like it.